Today we're talking about something really shocking and emotional, because Kevin Costner has finally broken his silence on his divorce, and honestly, what he said has left fans heartbroken. Like, imagine someone you always thought had a perfect life suddenly admitting that everything fell apart, and he didn't even see it coming. And that's exactly what he said. I never saw this coming. And that one line alone says so much, because it's not just about a breakup, it's about losing something you truly believed would last forever. And what makes this even more surprising is that from the outside, his marriage looked strong, stable, and almost perfect, like the kind of relationship people admire. But Kevin revealed that things didn't collapse overnight. It wasn't some sudden dramatic ending. Instead, it was a slow process where small issues kept building over time. Things like work pressure, emotional distance, and misunderstandings. And honestly, that's what makes it so real, because this isn't just a celebrity story. This is something that happens in normal lives too, where everything seems fine until one day you realize it's not. And Kevin even explained that sometimes you think you're doing everything right, you think your relationship is okay, but slowly things start slipping away and you don't even notice until it's too late. And that part really hit people hard because so many can relate to that feeling. And what's even more emotional is that he didn't speak with anger or blame. He didn't point fingers at his ex-wife. Instead, he spoke with respect and honesty, saying that what they had was real and meaningful, and he will always honor that. And honestly, that kind of maturity is rare, especially in public breakups, where things usually turn messy and dramatic. But here, it's different, it's quiet, it's painful, and it feels real. And Kevin also admitted something that made this even more heartbreaking. He said there are moments he wishes he could go back and change. Conversations he would handle differently, time he would spend more carefully, and that regret, that what if, is something almost everyone feels after losing a relationship. It's like your mind keeps going back, thinking maybe things could have been different. And he also talked about how divorce isn't just losing a partner, it's losing the future you had imagined together, all those plans, dreams, and expectations suddenly disappearing. And that's a different kind of pain, one that's hard to explain unless you felt it. And despite all this, he didn't try to act strong or unaffected. Instead, he openly admitted that this has been one of the toughest times of his life, and that honesty is what makes people connect with him even more, because instead of hiding behind a strong image, he's showing vulnerability. And that takes real strength, especially for someone who has always been seen as confident and composed. And another thing he mentioned was how difficult it is to go something like this while the whole world is watching, because every detail becomes news, every emotion gets analyzed, and there's constant pressure. But even then, he made it clear that some parts of his life are private and should remain that way, which again shows his dignity and respect for the relationship. And fans have been reacting emotionally to all this, many saying they feel sad, shocked, and even inspired by his honesty, because it reminds them of their own experiences, their own heartbreaks, and their own healing journeys. And maybe that's why this story is spreading so much, because it's not just about a celebrity divorce, it's about real emotions that everyone understands. And when asked about what's next, Kevin didn't give any dramatic answers. He simply said he's taking things one day at a time, learning to accept what has happened, trying to heal, and slowly moving forward. And that's such a real and grounded response, because healing doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, patience, and acceptance. And he also talked about self-reflection, saying that instead of blaming, it's important to understand yourself, to learn from what happened, and to grow from it. And that mindset is powerful, because it turns pain into something meaningful, something that can actually help you become stronger. And even though this is clearly a painful chapter in his life, there's still a quiet sense of hope in his words, not loud or dramatic, but subtle and real, like the understanding that life doesn't stop, no matter how hard things get. And he said it himself, life goes on, and so must he. And maybe that's the most important part of his message, that even when things fall apart, even when you lose something you never thought you would, you still have to keep going, you still have to rebuild, and you still have to find a way forward. And in the end, this story isn't just about Kevin Costner, it's about all of us, about how relationships can change, how life can surprise us in ways we never expected, and how strength isn't about never breaking, but about finding the courage to move on even after you do. And that's why his words, "I never saw this coming," feel so powerful, because sometimes, no matter how prepared we think we are, life still finds a way to shock us. And all we can do is learn, heal, and keep moving forward. Costner has finally opened up about his divorce, and what he shared has left fans emotional and deeply reflective about relationships, love, and how life can change in ways no one expects. Because for years he was seen as someone who had it all together, a strong presence both on and off screen. someone whose personal life appeared stable and grounded, and that's exactly why his words, "I never saw this coming," hit so hard, because they reveal not just shock, but a quiet heartbreak that feels incredibly real. And as he began to explain what happened, it became clear that this wasn't about a sudden dramatic fallout, but rather a slow and painful drifting apart, the kind that happens quietly over time without either person fully realizing the depth of the distance forming between them. And he talked about how small issues, things that seem insignificant at first, can build up over months and years, creating gaps that become harder and harder to close, especially when life gets busy, career, demand more attention, and emotional connection starts to fade without either person meaning for it to happen. And that's what makes his story so relatable, because it reflects something many people experience, where everything looks fine on the surface, but underneath there are unspoken feelings, missed conversations, and moments where connection could have been rebuilt but wasn't. And Kevin didn't approach this with anger or blame. Instead, he spoke with honesty and respect, making it clear that what they had was real and meaningful, and that even though the relationship has ended, the memories and the love they shared still matter, which shows a level of maturity that is rare in public breakups. And he also admitted something that resonated deeply with fans, that there are moments he wishes he could go back and change, times when he would listen more, communicate better, or simply be more present. And that feeling of looking back and wondering what could have been done different is something many people understand, because after a relationship ends, it's natural to replay the past and question decisions, even when there's no clear answer. And he explained that divorce is not just about losing a partner, but about losing the future you imagined together. The plans, the routines, the sense of certainty, all of which suddenly disappear, leaving behind a kind of emptiness that is difficult to put into words. And despite all this, he didn't try to present himself as someone unaffected. Instead, he acknowledged the emotional toll, admitting that this has been one of the most challenging periods of his life, and that honesty has made people connect with him even more, because it reminds everyone that no matter how successful or strong someone appears, they are still human, still capable of feeling pain, confusion, and loss. And he also spoke about the difficulty of going through something so personal under public scrutiny, where every detail becomes a headline and every emotion is analyzed, which adds an extra layer of pressure to an already painful situation. Yet even in that environment, he chose to maintain dignity, emphasizing that some parts of his life are private and should remain that way. And fans have responded with empathy and support, many sharing their own stories and expressing how his words made them reflect on their own relationships, because his experience highlights a universal truth that relationships require constant effort, communication, and presence. And without those, even the strongest bonds can slowly weaken over time. As he continued to reflect on his journey, Kevin Costner spoke about what comes next, and instead of offering dramatic statements or trying to create a perfect narrative, he kept it simple and real, saying that he is taking things one day at a time, learning how to accept what has happened and how to move forward, which is a process that doesn't happen quickly or easily, because healing is not something that can be rushed. It takes time, patience, and a willingness to face difficult emotions. And he emphasized the importance of self-reflection, not in a way that involves blaming oneself, but in a way that allows for understanding and growth, because every relationship, whether it lasts or ends, teaches something valuable, and by looking at those lessons honestly, it becomes possible to grow stronger rather than becoming bitter. And that perspective is what gives his story a sense of quiet hope, even in the middle of pain, because it shows that endings, while heartbreaking, can also be opportunity for new beginnings, even if those beginnings are uncertain and take time to fully form. And he acknowledged that there are still moments of sadness, moments where the weight of everything feels overwhelming. But he also expressed a determination to keep moving forward, to not let this chapter define the rest of his life. And that resilience is something that many people find inspiring, because it reflects the reality that life continues, no matter how difficult things become. And he also talked about how important it is to accept change, even when it's not what you wanted, because resisting reality only makes the pain last longer, while acceptance, even though it's hard, creates space for healing. And in sharing his thoughts, he didn't just tell his own story. He created a moment of connection with others who have experienced similar losses, reminding them that they are not alone, that it's okay to feel hurt, to feel confused, and to take time to figure things out. And that message has resonated widely, because in a world where people often feel pressure to appear strong and unaffected, his openness offers a different perspective, one where vulnerability is not weakness, but a form of strength. And as he looks ahead, there is no clear roadmap, no guaranteed outcome, But there is a sense of willingness to keep going, to rebuild, and to find meaning beyond this difficult chapter. And in the end, his words, "I never saw this coming," continued to echo not just as a statement about his own experience, but as a reminder of how unpredictable life can be, how relationships can change despite our best intentions, and how important it is to appreciate what we have while we have it, because nothing is ever as certain as it seems, and perhaps that is the most powerful part of his story. That it is not just about a celebrity divorce, but about the shared human experience of love, loss, and the courage it takes to move forward even when the future feels uncertain. After Kevin Costner's emotional statement, more details started coming out about how the relationship slowly changed over time. He didn't describe any single big fight or dramatic moment, but instead a gradual shift that happens so quietly that you don't even realize when things start falling apart. He explained that sometimes two people can still care for each other deeply, but life starts pulling them in different directions, and before you know it, emotional connection becomes weaker than it used to be. Friend, so it wasn't like one sudden breakup moment. Host, exactly, that's the heartbreaking part. It was more like a slow fading. He said there were phases where everything still looked normal from outside, like public appearances, normal conversations, family moments, but internally, things were not the same anymore. And that kind of emotional distance is often harder to fix than a loud argument, because it doesn't give you a clear warning sign. Kevin also shared that fame and work pressure played a big role in his life, not as an excuse, but as a reality he had to face. Long shooting schedules, constant commitments, and being away from home for long periods created gaps in communication. And over time, those gaps turned into silence in certain emotional areas. He admitted that there were moments where he thought, "I'll fix this later," but later kept getting delayed. Friend, that sounds like something many people do in real life too. Host, exactly. That's why people are connecting so strongly with his words. It's not just a celebrity story, it reflects normal relationships too. He even said that sometimes people assume love is enough to hold everything together, but in reality, love needs time, attention, and effort. 3 minutes ago, even the world of gospel music was shaken when shocking and heartbreaking part of his reflection surrounding the legendary singer David Phelps. He didn't say he regrets everything, but he did admit that there are certain moments he replays in his mind, in a way no one expected, small conversations, revealing a deeply emotional and painful situation that has now become feels things could have gone differently if he had reacted differently or paid more attention. But at the same time, he also accepted that life doesn't give second chances to relive the past. Friend, did he sound angry about it? Host, no, not at all. That's what surprised people. There was no anger in his tone, only sadness and acceptance. He actually spoke with a lot of respect about his ex-partner, saying that what they shared was real and meaningful, and that it should not be reduced to negativity just because it ended. He emphasized that not every ending has a villain or a hero. Sometimes it's just life-changing people in different directions. He also touched on something very deep emotionally. He said that divorce is not just about separation, it's about losing a shared future. When you are in a relationship for years, you build mental images of how life will look in the future. Plans, routines, celebrations, growing old together. And when that ends, it's not just the present that hurts, it's the destruction of everything you imagined ahead. That part really hit fans hard because it's something many people don't openly talk about. The grief of a breakup is not only about the person, but also about the future that disappears suddenly. Friend, that's actually really painful when you think about it. Host, it really is. And Kevin didn't hide that pain. He admitted there were nights where everything felt heavy, where silence felt louder than words, and where acceptance was not easy. But he also said something important. He is trying to move forward step by step, not rushing healing, not pretending everything is fine, but allowing himself to feel everything honestly. He mentioned that one of the hardest things about this whole experience is learning how to adjust to a new normal. Because when someone has been part of your daily life for years, their absence creates a strange emptiness. Even simple routines feel different. That adjustment phase is what he described as the most emotionally challenging part. At the same time, he also spoke about growth. He said that even painful experiences teach you something about yourself. They show you where you could have been better, where you need to improve, and how you understand relationships in a deeper way after going through loss. He didn't present himself as perfect. He accepted that mistakes exist and that learning from them is part of life. Friend, so he's trying to stay positive too? Host, yes, in a very realistic way. Not fake positivity, but grounded acceptance. He said life doesn't stop, no matter what happens. You either stay stuck in the past or slowly find your way forward. and he has chosen to move forward, even if it's not easy.